At 41, I stood behind a store at an American flea market for the first time. I arrived early that morning. Cars kept pulling, one after another. People opened their trunks. Some unloaded folding tables, some placed old furniture on the ground. Others simply opened the car door and started selling whatever was inside. Very quickly, rows of stores appeared. The whole place felt like a small temporary town. The first time I stood behind a table, I felt a little awkward. In my old way of thinking, selling things like this did not seem very respectable. It felt like something you only do when life is already under pressure. But after standing there for a while, I realized that was not the whole picture. There were all kinds of people, young people, old people, couple running a store together, families bringing out old things from home. Some were just clearing out items they no longer needed. Some treated it like a small business, and some people simply enjoying the feeling of buying and selling. That was what struck me most. The heart of the whole place was actually very simple. Exchange. One person needed something, another person happened to have it. They talked about the price, and then the item moved from one life into another. At the market, you could see all kinds of old things, books, tools, cameras. Things that had been forgotten in one household could suddenly become useful again in someone else's hand. That was when I started to understand what a second-hand economy really means. Something used does not immediately become trash. It can still move, still circulate, still be part of life. And for some people, this kind of market also becomes a way to make a little money. No store, no expensive setup, just a table, some items, and the willingness to stand there and try. The barrier was low. Later, I began to see that this place was not only about money. It was also a kind of lifestyle. People talk, people ask the questions, people exchange information. Some came every weekend. It felt less like a shopping mall and more like a social space. That afternoon, I understood something else. Earning a living does not happen in only one way. Sometimes it happens in an office, sometimes through a formal job, and sometimes it begins with a folding table. At a weekend market, the scale may be different, but the principle is the same. You offer something, time, goods, experience, and in return, someone is willing to pay for value. On the way back, I realized I cared less about pride than I used to. Because once you actually begin doing something, many imagined barriers become much smaller. Sometimes what limits a person is not a lack of opportunity, it is the narrow path they have accepted as the only path. In the next episode, I will take you with me into an adult store. I'm Chris. At 41, I started testing whether life could move again. If you are also standing at a turning point in life, let's talk.